everyone, my name's James Ivey.
I'm Paul Drew.
From the studio.
Ah, yes, what the hell is this?
New Gear Day.
This is pretty awesome.
I'm a big fan of a German company called KMA Machines. They make beautiful pedals that do stuff that's a little bit left of centre, a little bit quirky, but actually really, really practical and really useful.
Yep.
This is the new Endgame, and it says a duality calibrator.
What does that mean?
I think it's a catchy title.
But if you've got a TONEX pedal, actually, if you've got any sort of modelling device or preamp, something like that, this thing is pretty much invaluable. This thing solves the problem that people have, or the moan that people have with TONEX not having an effects loop.
Yeah.
This solves so many issues.
It's almost like one of those, the ultimate guitar problem solver, output, routing, matrixy, clever thing, isn't it?
It is.
It does so many things in one really useful box. So let's tick off some of those really useful things that it does beautifully. So first and foremost, it's a DI box for your guitar.
Underselling it, but yes.
Yeah. There's so much more to it than that. This is a means of getting our guitar effects chain into your PA, balanced into your PA. There's stereo balanced XLRs output, and that's what you're hearing right now, the recording path, if you like. There's also, if you require them, TS and TRS, tip sleeve and tip ring sleeve, jack outputs.
What he's trying to say is, you've got the big connectors you can go out to the PA, or you've got the little connectors you can go out to your PA, and it's all covered.
What he said. It also has an effects loop, a proper stereo effects loop.
Yeah.
So we can run things like the UA Delverb in this case in glorious stereo.
Absolutely, and this is what was missing, or is missing, from the TONEX pedal. So if you pair your TONEX pedal with this, it solves all those issues. Let's demonstrate the features that it's got with some playing and some sounds, and then people can actually hear what it does, I think, as opposed to explaining exactly what it does. Let's demonstrate it.
So I'm going to take both things out in a minute. So our input is via 1/4" jack. It's a mono input because it's designed to be the last thing in your chain. It is the end game, if you will.
Absolutely.
We also have a through jack, which you can then go off to feed another guitar amp if you want to, or you could record just your effects chain, which could be quite handy. We've then got an input gain control, so you can actually get proper gain staging through the pedal, which is really nice. We have a power amp emulation, we'll talk about that in a minute. And then we have our effects loop on this side, so we've got proper stereo effects.
So we're still not demonstrating anything, are we? You're doing a lot of yabbering.
Yes.
Right, let's demonstrate it.
Right.
So, what have we got?
Let's do the effects loop thing first, because that's this button.
Okay, so this is the tone coming out of TONEX.
We'll go into a clean
Should we go
sound.
into a clean tone? Okay. This is the sound coming out of TONEX going into the Endgame. Sounds like this.
First really cool feature is there is an ambience control. So if I turn that all the way off, you can hear it's absolutely bone dry. And I can wind it in very gently. It's like a comfort reverb.
Yeah. I think about 11 o'clock is perfect, isn't it?
So if you are going off into the PA, you've at least got some, say, real life ambience kind of tone in your signal path, which is really nice. But then, of course, we've got the effects loop.
We're using the Delverb for this. Sounds awesome with that.
It sounds really lovely. Another cool thing though is, again, KMA have given us so many options with this thing. We can move the position of the effects loop in the chain, which is really cool. So we can have it pre or post the speaker emulation.
So the way you can look at that is if it's pre the speaker emulation, it's like having an effects loop going through your amplifier into your speaker cab. Or if you're going post, it's more studio effects, so you're recording or hearing the speaker before the effects, which is more how you do it in the studio situation.
How we like to do it, because we're both studio guys. If you are a guitarist first and foremost, you may choose to have the effects pre the emulation. And that's a taste thing. There's no right or wrong there, essentially. It's a taste thing. We mentioned cab emulation, of which there is. We have 3 built-in impulse responses.
Yep.
You can also add 2 users. It's the usual suspects of speaker types. We've got a vintage 30, a greenback, and a creamback. And they do sound quite different. I'm going to put some dirt on for this because I think it sounds really cool.
Take the effects off so people can actually hear the effect. Yeah, that's it. Okay, see that?
Dirt. There's loads of other really cool things, but if you like, the wow factor thing is the doubler.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
Now, in the studio, we would create a double track guitar part. You record your first track, your first rhythm track, pan it hard left. You record as close as you can, pan it hard right, and because of humanness,
good word.
Yeah. There's a variation between the two.
Yeah.
Now, what the clever people at KMA have done is used AI, machine learning, and created an algorithm that changes both the pitch, the timing, and the level of signal to create a really authentic human feeling double part.
He's talking too much again.
Sorry.
Let's demonstrate.
It sounds like this. Now, you can choose where the doubler appears or happens in the signal path. You can go pre or post
Effects.
And you've also got a width control. So all the way over here, the doubler is absolutely bang down the middle.
So it's more of a thickening effect.
And we can wind it up.
what a massive difference.
It's a real
Massive.
It's a lot of fun to play through as well. It's quite. I won't say it hides a multitude of sins.
It does hide it hides all your mistakes, which is lovely. But I think one of the major features of this box is if you're running something like a TONEX Live and you're running over long cable lengths, you're going to need a DI box. Most stereo DI boxes, stereo outs, are how much?
The radial JDI something, I never remember what it is. They're about 350, 400 quid.
Something like that. And the Walrus Audio one, which is absolutely fantastic, which is stereo in, stereo out, is about 250, something like that. This is
350 quid thereabouts.
And you've got the DI box, you've got the effects loop, you've got so many different options on this.
Cool extra stuff. As if that wasn't enough feature-wise, it's got an auxiliary input. So you can actually, if you want to run, your backing tracks into it or whatever, or you want to play along to tracks of an iPhone, you can do that. If you don't have the cable, it's got a Bluetooth connectivity, so you could actually play your tracks from that.
Yeah.
Let's pretend that you're listening to a click track or something like that, and you're running that into the auxiliary input. You don't want that to be coming out of the balanced outputs, do you? There's internal switching. Flick that over, and you can choose where you route the internal signal to. There's a pair of stereo headphone outs.
Every time I open my mouth, you say exactly what I was going to say.
Isn't that cool?
Yes,
a bit of that. There's output level control for the XLRs. There's output level control for the headphones.
It's got everything.
It also has power amp emulation.
So you'd use this if you plugged, say, like a preamp straight into the KMA Endgame. You could then emulate EL84s, 34s, KT88s, etc. by a button on the side. Now, because we're using TONEX and I've captured the Soldano, we've already got the power amp emulation in that. But if you just had a preamp going into it without power amp,
you have a little button down here.
Yeah,
and that's how you go through the different power amp types.
Well, let's demonstrate it, because even though we've got that, awesome.
It's a brilliant thing.
It is really clever.
We were trying to do the math, as our American brothers would say, about how this thing stacks up against something like a quad cortex, or because tonally, so these three boxes, TONEX 1, a Delverb, it could be any choice of reverb you like.
Yeah.
An Endgame, maybe you might want to add a modulation in there as well, maybe.
But it's still going to be cheaper than buying like a fully, and it's customizable as well. So you can add like your own modulation. You don't like that modulation, we take that out and you put something else in there.
Yeah.
It's an absolutely awesome piece of kit.
It's a big thing to have on your board.
Yep.
It is quite, it's a good, probably 2 inches tall.
Yeah. There's a lot in there.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. It's got everything. I mean, you've even got a volume control for the auxiliary input.
Yeah.
So if you're using this, this could be your in-ear monitor controller. There's so many use cases for it. So as a kind of get out of jail free card, if you want to send nice clean signal to your front of house or to a recording channel or whatever, it's awesome.
Does everything. So go on. There you go.
I love the doubler. It is a real.
It sounds great.
It's an effect but it also changes the way you play. It's a really nice addition to your sound.
Yeah.
You know, it's not an effect, it's a performance effect rather than just a sonic effect.
If I had one criticism, and this is the only criticism, and it's very slight, is that I would like a level control on that double tracking.
It's like a blend between
the original and almost. But that's not to say that it doesn't sound great, and that is a very usable level of that effect. Anyway, really hope you guys got something out of this video. If you did get something out of it, don't forget to like and subscribe. Click on the bell button and you'll be notified of any future video that comes out from the studio. So I'm Paul.
I'm James.
And we'll see you next time.